Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. So, today we have someone really, really special. Okay, we have Abe 8036 with us. And I think, you know what? Let's just get started. All right, let's start with an introduction, MetaMori. So, what do we call you? Do we refer to you as Mori, MetaMori, or Abe 8036? And tell us about you. It's going to be fun.
Hey y'all. Thank you, Harshith, for having me on your show. I appreciate you having me on the podcast and enjoy seeing you in the Huxley Discord. And I definitely get FOMO for that mod position you got. Congratulations. If anyone listening in, Huxley is, the Bored Apes absolutely love that community, love my fellow apes, and the ape community definitely built me up and allowed me to create the position that I have in the community. And as much as I do love the apes, I gotta say Huxley is my favorite project, just in terms of I have been a fan of Ben's work for years, for many years before even being aware of NFTs. So I've just been a fan of his work for years, and I'm so excited to be part of that. In terms of who I am, what I am, I'm the world's first Bored Ape VTuber. I began creating content as my ape, as you can see, about a year ago, be a little over a year now. I began by creating with my ape as a 2D character,
Correct.
and then developed into a 3D. I cannot take credit for the rigs myself. I am
Mhm.
more of a producer performer, so to speak. That I'm not a 3D modeler. I do have basic knowledge of those things, so
Mhm.
I have enough understanding to provide direction to get the results that I want. But it's much faster for me to team up with people that
Correct,
can
sir. Correct.
do things that I can't do, or do them faster than I can.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
trying to be a bit more efficient. But yeah, I typically go by Mori, although my Twitter handle is MetaMori underscore, and it comes from a gamer tag. It's just the Latin words for after and death. I thought I was being clever. Uh,
Cool.
and it was just there's other meanings that built into the name that will come to
Mhm.
light over time,
Mhm.
just for fun. It's just I like
Okay.
having a bit of mystery, as everyone probably knows by now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I very much enjoy creating as my ape. I also have a VTuber rig of my gold tattoo gutter cat. I
Mhm.
have other rigs that are in the works. So just planning on continuing to create with my NFTs in this way and other ways, of course, just to explore and experiment, because of having the freedom to do so is
Correct. Correct.
so powerful.
100%. So, Mori, this actually brings me to the question. So, where did this inspiration come from? See, right now, I mean, this is the first kind of podcast that I'm doing personally, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel different, right?
Mhm.
It feels exactly the same. I'm talking because now I understand that it's all about exchanging ideologies, right? As humans, we exchange ideologies, and your form of exchanging ideologies is through what you're doing. And this is just so profound, right? Because I remember watching this episode on Black Mirror,
Mhm.
wherein there's this episode in Black Mirror where a blue teddy kind of thing keeps shitting at the president and everything, and eventually that becomes the thing. So it kind of gave us
Mhm.
the idea about it. So where did this inspiration come from? And by the way, I like your golden teeth.
Oh, thank you. The golden teeth were definitely a big part of why I chose my ape.
Hmm.
To give a little background on choosing my ape,
Hmm.
the original NFT, so Bored Ape number 8036 is my Bored Ape. And if you were to look at the original
Okay.
is not wearing the hoodie. There's no clothes. The only clothing that the original has is the eye patch, and he wears one of the trait is called kami hat, so like the
Hmm.
fur hat. But the reason I chose that ape is the only Bored Ape that exists that is blue fur with a pirate patch and gold teeth. And so
Okay.
having those three traits is enough for me to be unique, and I can I can switch out the clothes as I wish and still be within my lane, so to speak. So not stepping on any other ape's toes in terms of their IP and the the traits, the unique traits and unique look of their ape. And so I chose this ape because I felt having the freedom to remove that hat and change out other accessories, props, and things like that, and have that the clean look of just being able to have the gold teeth, the fur, the pirate patch. So even from the very beginning of me choosing my ape, it was based upon creating with it and building with it. And so I wanted to be very intentional about choosing an ape where I could build and create, and it would be a unique ape that could be recognizable and not too busy, kind of simple features. And so that was why I chose this ape, and have enjoyed creating with it. Pretty much a vast majority of the other NFTs that are in my vault with this ape, if anyone were wanting to look at those, of course it's publicly available. But what I have in my vault is generally what I plan on creating with and building with, and I kind of have some narrative and story in mind for each of those NFTs as to how I will build out a world with my NFTs, or participate in the metaverse as them, and things like that. I've got lots of ideas of how to build. And I try and really encourage anyone getting into NFTs or already in NFTs, particularly at times like this during high volatility, and there's a lot, if your primary focus is floor prices and gains and not creation and building, then a bear market is going to be a lot more scary and a lot more painful for you, because you don't have any plan other than price go up. And so that has helped me with my ape. If I didn't have a plan, if I had not created a VTuber of my ape, I guarantee you I would not have kept it. I wouldn't have had the conviction to keep it as long as I have, because I wouldn't have had a plan for it beyond the money. And once the money got to a certain level, it would have been foolish for me not to. And some people might, we may zoom back and some people may laugh at me saying this, and maybe in the future they'll say, oh, well, you should have sold it at the top a few months ago. But the money part, just particularly with this one NFT, when I bought this one and some others, I was just very adamant for myself. I'm buying this to keep it, to build with it, and to see what's possible. Because I think one of the most beautiful things about NFTs and about all of us being in this community together, beyond the financial gain that many have received, it's that we are forging a path together that no one else has explored before.
Could you expand on that, please? The statement that you just told us.
Well, think about how many things are coming out of this space that have never existed before. Like, for example, even just myself being the world's first Bored Ape VTuber, just the fact that is possible. It's possible to be the world's first something in this space with this technology, because it's all so new. And for me, I'm more excited about the long-term possibility of being part of the new frontier and co-creating the future with you and Ben, Gargabel, Gordon, like all of the amazing, awesome people in this space that want to create a future together. That's more exciting and more important to me than selling this ape for a lot more than I got it for.
Got it. So that actually becomes a philosophy. That means you bought it not just to flip it. I mean, that is you're not even considering that, but to create an identity, build a universe out of it, and bring in people together and add value, right? Even through content and what we are also doing. So is that so?
Yes, definitely. I think that for me, when I approached this space, I thought, what can I do to help?
Okay.
What can I do to help the projects that I am passionate about? And for me, VTubing, I felt it's a friend of mine, shout
Mm-hmm.
out to Dice Boomy. He also goes by
Mm-hmm.
Boomy.
Mm-hmm.
He and I have been friends for a very long time, and he actually was the first to tell me about VTubing about 3 or 4 years ago. He just randomly asked if I'd heard of it, and I dove into it. It's much more prevalent in Japan. It's quite popular over there.
Okay.
There's a lot of VTubers that do gaming streams. Typically, other VTubers, in my experience, they tend to be doing like LARPing or role play, where they are
Mm-hmm.
creating a character. They have a particular personality they're putting out there. I was planning to do a character, but
Okay.
then I realized I'd rather just be myself. And so I thought, what better way to show people how they can embrace their digital identity than
Mm-hmm.
for me to embrace my ape as my digital identity and show people that you can interact in very unique ways using technology
Perfect.
available to
Perfect.
us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's something extremely powerful about us being able to interact in this way, because there's no
Biases?
stereo there's no biases or
Perfect.
stereotypes,
Correct.
because
Correct.
there are friendships and relationships that I've formed with people in the community, that first off, if the technology of Web3 didn't exist, we never would have met each other in the first place, which is that
Yes, sir.
alone,
Yes, sir.
that alone is so powerful. You think about how much your life can be changed by a conversation with just the right person on the subway. But then what about a technology that starts connecting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people around the world that otherwise never would have even had a conversation?
Got it.
And
Got it. Got it.
the power that that will have to change the course of the world ahead of us, and the
Mm-hmm.
responsibility we have to
Mm-hmm.
participate in a meaningful, positive, and supportive way. And so I felt that by embracing my digital identity and by showing people what is possible already, we can already interact in an open metaverse with our avatars right now, as you and
Yes.
I are doing
Yes.
today.
Yes. Yes.
The metaverse is here. The metaverse has
Mm.
existed for
Mm.
some time. It's a matter of how soon are you going to utilize the technology available to you to participate in a more meaningful way, and in a way that allows you to you being anyone, not just you specifically, but me. I decided to use the knowledge and skills that I've developed over the years to participate in this space in a unique way, because I'm so passionate about what's being built here. And I believe that there's huge untapped potential in how this community can create a space of fun and inclusion,
Yep. Yep.
and be able to break down barriers and biases that usually pull us apart. Because the most powerful way that we can connect with others who are different is to find common ground. And through
Okay.
Web3 and the metaverse, I believe many of us are going to find common ground that otherwise didn't exist before.
Yeah. 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 So I think, you actually shared a lot of pointers with me, right? And they're all very significant. So, I'm actually going to come back to the previous, thing that we were talking about. So how did the inspiration come from? Because, when you're talking about this, It's basically about, removing all the barriers to interact with people, right? And you were very kind enough to just, accept my DM and, start DMing. I mean, that is powerful, right? Because, there is this thing called, this phenomenon where you are just six people away from the person that you want to meet. So let's say if you want to meet anybody, right, you're just six people away from the person that you want to meet. And there's actually a math behind it as well. And
Hmm.
right, so but now it's more simple, right? You're just one tweet away from the person that you want to meet, and that just blows my mind. So could you talk about that? Could you talk about your philosophy of why Web3? Why are we even doing this? Right? Why Web3? Why we even, here? Why are we
Hmm.
talking about this? And how did the inspiration come from? I just want to dive deeper into the mindset, so that we take down the layers and truly understand the core of why we are still at it, even in the bear market. And it's kind of still the start, right? Fiat is melting, but we're still at it. Why are we
Hmm.
at it?
Because, well, I think the simple answer is that there's more to it than money.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a lot more to it than just flipping. I do think so. I definitely want to share that although I have some NFTs that I've earmarked to keep for the long term,
Mhm.
I do flip NFTs. So I'm not a purist collector. So I don't want to present a false image of myself as someone
Got
that
it. Got it.
never sells anything. That's not true. I
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
I curate my collection over time, and I consolidate
Got it.
into what I want to keep for the long term. So
Got it.
I just want to be clear, just in case anyone listening is trying to understand how the space works. I know there are some in the space that try and pretend like they never sell anything, and the reality is most of us are doing that along the way.
Mhm.
But I'm trying. I think that the most powerful element of it long term is going to be those of us that embrace creativity and utilize the commercial rights that we have to these pieces of art, to these characters that we can create stories around. So I think to answer your question as far as why Web3, why are we here, what are we doing, what am I doing here? Sorry, just uh, 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry about that. But so I would have to kind of rewind back to when I joined the Bored Apes. I think would be a good example of why I joined the Bored Apes, and the core of that really dictated why I began joining other NFT projects. Because initially, I first tried to see these tokens as a unique way of networking with others in the space,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I realized very quickly, once you become a part of a community and once you have one of their NFTs, people are very inclusive, very inviting, friendly, and excited, of course, to have you be part of their community. But also on top of that, my experience of the Bored Apes, even before I owned an ape, when I first came in the
Mhm.
Discord, there were people asking me, are you new to Web3? Are you new to
Okay.
crypto?
Okay.
Do you have questions? What do you? And so I felt
Oh.
very quickly in the Bored Ape Discord, as well as Punk's comic, and at the time Space Apes, which became Galactic Apes. Unfortunately, the creator kind of just slow rugged everyone. But that was a good early lesson
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So just be prepared. You never know what could happen in the space. But I think the networking is very powerful. And then when you find a community that really want to help you, that you connect well with, and especially if it's a community that seems to have a really high concentration of the saying of, when you realize you're not the smartest person in the room, you're in the right room.
Yeah.
Use that
Yeah.
as your guide in this space, because if you feel like you're telling everyone what they need to know and you're the one that's in a particular discord that knows more than everyone else, it may be time. I'm not saying stop helping that discord, keep helping them, keep being the smart person in that room, but find another room that you feel intimidated by, because you should, throughout your life, try to find rooms you are scared of, because those rooms have the people that can help you grow more than you could ever help yourself.
Wow. Correct. Yeah, the old saying, right? The fundamentals always are right. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. And
Mm-hmm.
it also makes sense that yeah, you must be adding value, of course, but when you surround yourself with smarter people, uh, the CAGR of that is exponential, right? It just compounds. It is exponential. It just compounds when you're with smarter people, because there are 10 different networking sessions that happen within the Discord itself, and that just blows up, right? Don't you
Mm-hmm.
think, like, in the next 5 to 10 years, the graph of the person is he's definitely going to be more smarter and understand the market better and make right choices. Is it so?
Mm-hmm.
Is my analogy correct, or what do you think?
I I believe so. And in my experience, there's two words that have guided me through my life very, very well
Mm-hmm.
in almost every situation.
Mm-hmm.
I have reminded myself to be curious,
Wow.
because whatever you are doing, wherever
Correct.
you are going, whatever you're trying to accomplish, if you approach it with curiosity,
Curiosity. Yeah.
you can do some really amazing things,
Yeah.
because you're willing. When we are curious, we're willing to pivot, we're willing to learn, we're willing to grow, and
Okay.
we're willing to accept that we might not know where we really want to go to. Initially when I got
Makes
my
sense.
Bored Ape, I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
going to create a pirate character and be
Okay.
this certain attitude and a way, I was going to have a voice with it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then and then I had a friend in the space. He was like, I was talking to him about it. Shout out to QB pick, brother. I appreciate you so
Mm-hmm.
much, the talks we have, because he said to me when I was talking about early days, what do I create a character? What do I do? And he said, bro, just be genuinely you, and the right people will
Come
connect.
to.
And instead of trying to be something else or to create something else, I just embodied this outfit, so to speak, and just decided to be myself and be curious. And that has
Okay.
worked. I've been
Okay.
very lucky and blessed and grateful that has worked well for me. I'd encourage other people to lean on curiosity as often as you can.
Got it. Because I've actually been looking at all your YouTube videos as well, and I don't know if someone has told this to you already, but your voice uh, is very meditating, right?
Mm,
it feels like that
thank
because
you.
you're very calm, right? And even your videos, you also have these meditation sessions that you've been doing on your YouTube, right? Which are
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. And
Oh, thank you.
so does that come from uh, where does that have you mentally in the space? Like, do you avoid the noise? What do you do to be in that state of calmness? Are you in that state of calmness? I'm just just
um,
wondering if.
so I am not always in that state of calmness. That's of course, like any normal person, I have anxieties, I have stresses.
Correct.
I am very lucky to have had a lot of investment experience. And
Mhm.
so having experience with investments and market cycles in the past um, allows me to be more calm, because I don't feel that I'm flying blind. Although this particular market is one that I've not been in for very long, the NFT market specifically,
Mhm.
um, the you know the stocks, mutual funds, things like that. I have experience in that area. And so having
Mhm.
experience of seeing the way that markets behave, of course, NFTs are in many ways a totally different ball game. But I guess on the simplest level, what I mean is I have experience with choosing teams that I believe in and
Wow.
keeping conviction in them, regardless of the short term emotions that others may or may not have. Because,
Okay. Okay.
for example, Huxley or the Bored Apes or the Gutter Cat, different projects that the Gutter Cats, for example, Missing Watcher. There's numerous different projects that I have uh, quite a few of their NFTs, and I'm not so concerned about the market being down, mainly because I came into this space with a long-term vision, and the short-term emotion does not affect the confidence the short-term emotion of other investors
Mhm.
does not affect the conviction that I have in the teams that I trust.
Makes sense. Makes
So
sense.
the market sentiment, in my opinion, is a reflection of other investors more so than it is of the work of the teams.
Okay.
So particularly in a market of this size, it's a very concentrated small market, often
Mhm.
potentially manipulated by bigger players. So my approach has been to be less concerned about the fluctuations and more concerned about which teams do I really believe will be here in 5 years, 10 years, or
Mhm.
more.
Okay. Okay.
And so I typically focus on that.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, firstly, congratulations for the robots that you have, vaulted recently, and they're amazing, right? They're really amazing, and
Oh, yeah.
I think it just, it just speaks, right? The market really is, because we've recently seen that, a lot of things have happened. There's a lot of noise again, but it comes back, to finding those teams. And I'm not just saying that because I am a part of Foxy. I mean, yeah, definitely there is a bias, of course, and I do accept that. But when you're in that team, when you're around those people, it just feels different, right? Because so much of ambition inside, so much of things to create, and it just shows that there is so much to the space that I haven't even explored, right? So I recently tweeted about the Dunning-Kruger effect and
Mhm.
how my experience with the entire crypto space is like the Dunning-Kruger effect. So, eventually I think I'm the smartest guy in the room, and then I think, I know it all, but then boom, I come back to the valley of despair, and now I'm like, shit, this I knew nothing. I literally knew nothing. And now I'm like slowly trying to connect with the right people, talk to the people, and understand. And coming back to what you said, right? Surrounding yourself with smarter people, and be intimidated by people. I know it sounds very different, right? I mean, if you say that to someone, it's like, what are you even talking about? But when you dig deeper, sometimes you have to be. Sometimes we
Mhm.
have to move out of the comfort zone to learn and grow, right? So this is just amazing. And wow, wow. So so what do you think about feature doing the entire licensing and IP thing? Because giving opportunities to Bored Ape owners, WoW owners, and punks, and who have a lot more we have coming.
Mhm.
So what are your plans of doing it? So because this is you, right? This is you embodied in the ape 8036, and sharing this ideology. What would your plans be with feature? How would you expand it?
Well, I think that I try and I've been trying to, in my mind, think of feature almost like an acting agency, so to speak,
Mhm.
for these NFTs, and I am so excited about what they are creating for that platform because so many people, myself included, do not have the experience or resources to pull together a legal team to license out a highly valuable IP that they own. And few, if any of us, have probably ever sat in on a negotiation for something like that. And so having the feature team building a platform to help facilitate us doing so and to provide a platform, with the legal structure, the framework, and to have a team that they have been building and creating IP for many years. That's their bread and butter. These guys
Correct.
was what they've been doing long before NFTs existed. And so
Yeah.
for me, and I know, yes, I'm very biased too. I've got lots of Huxley, and so anyone hearing me say this, take it with a grain of salt. It's biased. I'm gonna be biased because I love it, but I do love it because of the years of work that those men and women have put into their careers before even coming into this space. The interactions I've had with them have all been just so pleasant and genuine. They're so helpful and just kind to the community, very humble people. So I just think that connecting with kind, humble, and curious creators who very clearly plan to and are building regardless of what us degens think stuff is worth today. um, those are the kind of people I want to be connected to and building with and building alongside. And so having the opportunity to license my ape through feature, I'm looking forward to that. So I think of it as almost kind of part of why I've been doing the VTubing and have multiple rigs is because, as with any valuable product, if you can demonstrate the value,
Okay.
it's easier for people to understand. So through me creating with my ape, I'm demonstrating another layer of value that my NFT has that someone else could use to their advantage. I often have potentially now I don't do paid promo, so I just want to say that I don't do paid promo, but I very regularly get asked to do paid promo for NFT projects, for maybe a new coin that's dropping, things like that. And people will ask me, hey, can we pay you to do a video for our drop or for our
Okay.
NFT?
Okay.
And the reason they're asking me that is they're seeing what I can create and what I'm capable of, and that has value.
Correct.
And so it's about showing what value can you bring to the space, what value can you bring to the communities that you're part of, and how can you contribute. And that value is sought after over time. People want to connect with those who are building and growing and creating. And I'm just, yeah, I'm very blessed and grateful that I was invited to this space. And shout out to Prison Lunch Lady, my oldest friend. We went to school when we were kids together. He sent me a text last year. I think it was April 30th or so. He sent me a text, hey, have you heard of NFTs? And the rest is history.
Wow.
And it's exactly like you said, we never know what that 60 degrees of separation, that one conversation, that one catalyst for change could be right around the corner to change your life. And you just never know what's coming next.
Correct. So, I mean, I think we have around 25 minutes more. And so, just have a few more questions that I was having. So, would you be able to talk about akbay.eth, I mean, that you have on your profile? So what you are doing with it?
Oh, well, AK Bay is actually my wife. So that is my wife's profile. It links to her profile. She has a pink gutter dog. We're both building, community building together, connecting with people. And she's just a beautiful person, incredible artist, mother, wife. I love her to death. And she's she's my girl. So she's in my profile. I want to lift her up as best I can because she's always done that for me.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. We'll definitely, follow and support as well. So, some great questions that I have was, yeah, this is something that I was really interested in. So, what happens to the jobs, right? Because now there is a massive shuffle of talent happening. You can work from anywhere. You can work for people situated all over the world. You can hire the best talent all over the world, no geographical boundaries. And yesterday, the previous podcast that I was doing with an assistant vice president of a crypto exchange company based in India, WazirX, was actually telling me that it's more like a country, right? Ethereum actually becomes it's like a country itself, because there are different ideologies, no boundaries, and Ethereum itself is a decentralized country, right? So what do you think happens to all the jobs? And I mean, I'm just asking, the macro perspective of how the space is going to be, and maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, what would happen? What would happen? What are your views on that?
Mm, I don't I don't know. It's tough to know. I do definitely agree that the pandemic was a very big catalyst for the world to realize we can work from anywhere,
Hmm.
and I think that was a positive silver lining of the pandemic. I won't dive into the rest of that cloud, but um, it's I think it's very powerful. I
Hmm.
do believe that it is scary to those who are already in power, because in my opinion,
Hmm.
the crypto community, we are creating a nation without borders, without kings, and without fear of their bullshit.
100%.
And that's scary to them and powerful for us because we can facilitate real change without the help of governments or banks. And I think
Got it,
that
got it,
that's
got it.
extremely powerful. I think that there's untapped opportunity in this space. I think the the potential in the long term to change lives. Obviously, many lives have already been changed by these technologies and by even just people learning to be in this space and participate in the space, and just through participation receiving airdrops that they could pay off debt with and things like that. So I think that potentially, particularly play to earn, has the potential to change the way that our society defines and perceives what work is.
Okay,
Because
okay.
I think typically when we talk about, well, what do you do for work, what's your job, and so many of us go through life, we do work or a job that we're not real thrilled about. We're not always very passionate about our work. Not us, a handful of us get to be. A
Yeah,
handful of
yeah.
us find the path that's our path. We love it. We love our work, and it doesn't feel like work. But I
Hmm.
think that there's going to be a potential revolution through play to earn and through the communities being created of
Hmm.
allowing people to monetize their passions more effectively and to be rewarded for the things that they get excited about,
Okay,
to be
okay.
rewarded for playing games, having fun. Obviously, some people are very skeptical of that and would say that it's a greater fool theory situation. But I think it just depends on, particularly with games, I believe so far we've yet to see a crypto game that has a meaningful game loop that is
Hmm.
repeatable and enjoyable over a long period of time. We've yet to really see um, experienced and skilled game developers come in and make a really awesome game. I've yet to
Yeah.
play or see any crypto game that is just really fun. There's always some element of it that's repetitive or, grindy. So there's going to be somebody that finds that secret sauce, and it's going to be a game changer.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So I mean, I mean, it's like a global minimum wage, right? A global
Mm-hmm.
minimum wage for everybody. That's the least you could do. So you can play to earn, and because we've seen examples, right, with Axie in the Philippines, right? People were able to pay off their debts, their college debts, and were able to buy beautiful houses for their parents, and that was all possible because of P2E.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just game changing, right? Game changing. I was a fun,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but
Well, it's
but
it's one of those things where it's we're very we're very lucky, those of us in
Mhm,
this space, those of us that are curious about these technologies and curious about where are we going next.
mhm,
Maybe P to E isn't the next step. I don't know for sure. But I
mhm,
do
mhm,
know that the people who are most likely to forge the next path or create the next amazing thing are
mhm.
probably in this space. They're probably here.
Yeah,
And so I feel I want to be in the space that's pushing for the future, pushing to create a better world, a more equitable experience of this life for us all. I'm very, very lucky that throughout my life, I've been I've been in a good position. I haven't had to stress about am I going to be able to pay rent next month or things like that. I'm very, very lucky and hyper aware of how lucky I am and how hard it can be for many people. And we need to, we're on this ride together. We're all on this planet together. And I think we have been taught otherwise. We've been taught you're on your own. You got to figure it out. And to some degree, that's true, of course. But we're all here and we're all flying through space on this big, beautiful sphere of green and blue. And I feel we have a responsibility to each other to try and make it better for everyone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. And because evolution has brought us to a place wherein money has become very, very important aspect of human beings. So that's how we interact. That's how there is trust and things like that. So how do you look at money? Like, what is money to you?
Um, to me, money is a communal valuation of trust. And the more you are trusted and the more you're valued your reputation is, and the more you are trusted that if others invest in you and your dreams or invest in you and your skills, that there will be a
Mm-hmm.
return for them, the more
Mm-hmm.
money you end up making. So the more valuable your skill is to others, the more they trust you to use that skill, the the more money you're going to make. Obviously there are many people that are born into wealth, and that's a different story. But in terms of earning money, and in my view, it is a valuation of trust. And it's about, if you look at money managers, whether it be someone that runs a hedge fund
Mm-hmm.
or just somebody that's helping friends and family plan for the future, it's based upon trust. People are trusting that they know what they're doing, trusting that they're going to treat them and their goals with respect and gives priority to them. When we buy a Apple iPhone for thousands of dollars, we're trusting that if it breaks, they will replace it. We're trusting if we lock ourselves out of it, they're going to help us get back in. There's trust built into that price tag.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that in general, in a very simple form, money has become a valuation of trust. How much do we trust, and how much it's looking at what do we trust and then what do we want to show off. Obviously, flexing is a whole nother
Yeah, yeah,
story, but
yeah.
I've just
Status
always thought of
seeking.
it as a exactly. It's definitely a status thing as well. But for myself, just I often think of it as a valuation of trust.
Valuation of trust. Got it, got it, got it. So, I mean, folks in Web3, right? How liquid are they? So, how do you, I mean, uh, because I've, just got started out, it's been like 8 months in the space and really don't know how people maintain their liquidity in the space, right? Because it fluctuates so much, it's so much volatile. And if their income is only crypto, do they store everything in the ledger? I mean, can you advise me on that? So how can one maintain like proper liquidity and also have something in the vault? Not financial advice though. Just
Yeah,
your
I
takes.
was I was I was gonna first say I definitely can't advise anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I can share. It's important. I can share some concepts that are important to keep in mind. It's
Mm-hmm.
always important that if you are feeling really stressed,
Mm-hmm.
you are probably overinvested, and so
Mm.
it's important to when you're investing, whatever it may be in, if that investment stresses you out, you
Mm-hmm.
are probably overextending. And so I generally, with my investments, focus on investing in a way that doesn't negatively impact my stress levels. If I
Okay.
can avoid it, obviously as I've mentioned, I'm in a different place than many people. And I'm very lucky to be able to have a very diversified portfolio.
Correct. Correct.
And so I am diversified within crypto NFTs as well as fiat and other investments. And so regardless of what it may be, if I find that something is stressing me out, or if I'm thinking about it when I want to go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big sign to me that I am overweight in that particular thing, and that I generally consider shuffling things a little bit, just because my stress levels are more important to me than making the maximum gains possible.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean that makes total sense, right? Because in the end, you just have to sleep like a baby, right? Whatever investments you do, whatever you're creating, whatever you're building, if you're not having that sound sleep, there might be something wrong that you're doing, or you're overstressing and taking too much of burden. Yeah, at times, uh, things happen, and the market is definitely like that. And yeah, yeah, because I've been seeing a lot of tweets about one ETH is one ETH, because
Mm-hmm.
people Bored Apes were sold for, I think, bought for around 87 ETH and then sold for 95, and then the difference, they didn't make a lot of money in, they actually lost money in fiat, but then one
Mm-hmm.
ETH is one ETH, right? So do you have any
Yeah.
notes to
So
share?
so I think the the folks that would be saying that often,
Hmm.
and having that approach, so that's a um, their view is they're viewing this ecosystem similar to how Americans would look at the US dollar, in the sense that
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
in we're not monitoring typically we're not monitoring the value of the US dollar against the ruble, because we don't care.
Hmm.
Why would we care unless we go there? Unless we're buying rubles, we don't really care about the value in comparison, or any other. And I'm not taking a shot at rubles. This is just the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, and so they're seeing it as a currency for the ecosystem they are part of and want to participate in, similar to Americans are part of the US system. They're participating with the US dollar, and the vast majority of Americans typically are probably not thinking about the value of the US dollar against other currencies, because that doesn't affect them, because
Okay.
they're not participating in the other markets. They're not they're and they're more concerned about how much power does that dollar have in that ecosystem. And so I think that's more what people who say that are trying to communicate, is to focus on one ecosystem, if that's for them the one that they're primarily participating in, and so that's their way of viewing it. I do try and have that approach to some degree, because but I think my main thing, I guess my biggest rule for myself, is that unrealized gains and losses are irrelevant. So for example, just in terms of emotionally how I deal with them, not that they actually are irrelevant. So I hope no one hears that wrong.
Got it.
So in the sense that emotionally, I don't attach myself to the all-time highs of whatever I own, because the all-time high doesn't mean anything unless you sold.
Correct. Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. Just like right now, if your stuff is at a low, it's it's similar to it's interesting. One asset in particular that people approach so differently than all others is physical properties such as homes. So you look at the housing market. You look at the housing market, and how do people respond to when the housing market is down and up and things like that? Most people generally, they have the house they live in and they don't care what it's worth until they want to sell it, because it's an illiquid asset. You can't just sell it at the drop of a hat. They're aware. We have been taught to be aware that when you own a house, it doesn't matter what it's worth until you decide you want to sell it. And that actually applies to all assets. We just conveniently apply it to homes because they're more illiquid. And so one thing that emotionally helps me a lot, for example, I got my board ape for 1 Ethereum at an all-time high. For the gold grills, they were going for somewhere, I am guessing because I don't monitor it closely because I'm not ever going to sell this ape, but they're going upwards of 180 ETH. And some people would look at that and say, and look at where the market is now. What was ETH worth then? And oh man, the market's down. I've lost this much money. And the reality is, no, you didn't. The valuation of what you own went down, but you didn't lose anything. You still have exactly the same thing.
Correct.
It's just that the valuation has changed.
Okay.
I think as people learn those concepts, that don't get attached to unrealized gains and losses, because they're not relevant to you until they are realized. Meaning, so unrealized meaning for anyone listening that doesn't understand that particular term, me owning my ape, if I value this ape at 150 ETH, I can value it at that. Someone could tell me, hey, I'll pay you that, but it's not worth that until I pull the trigger and actually sell it for that amount. I can say it's worth that, but until you sell something for that, same as with a home. You can put a home up for sale, say it's worth something, but if you don't sell it for that, it wasn't worth that because someone wasn't willing to pay it. You said it was worth that, and then you found out what it was worth because you found a buyer. So there's a big difference in true value and valuation of assets. So don't don't confuse yourselves. And sometimes we can really, especially in down markets, we can really beat ourselves up. And yes, maybe I should have pulled the trigger on NFT XYZ at the perfect time, but I didn't. And so it's not relevant to me anymore. I have to approach the decisions that I can make, not the ones that I could have.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think the moment we start looking at money in this perspective, I think a lot of things change, right? You start, if you truly want to become wealthy, you start finding those assets where you can lock your money up, and they're truly assets, not just valuation, right? They're actually a hedge against inflation. So perfect example, right? So I mean, even Michael Taylor calls like Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, because the entire concept, right? The limited amount and so and so. So what are your thoughts on that, right? And in the inflation rates, it's definitely not what they are claiming it to be. How would that affect us? And yeah, and I have just a few questions because I know you're running out of schedule as well. But
Oh no, it's okay. I have
okay,
time. I have
perfect,
time.
perfect.
Um, Inflation is a difficult one.
Mhm.
I personally, I definitely do not have enough knowledge about inflation and the impact it can have on our economies to give a, a professional opinion or anything like that.
Correct.
Um, but as we all know, it stings when it hits.
Yes, sir.
One element of inflation that is interesting is that historically, during times of high inflation, one thing I do find interesting is that collectibles and fine art actually in times of high inflation tends to have a higher amount of sales uh, than usual. Just a random fun fact that someone mentioned to me the other day.
Correct, correct.
I do worry about the effects of inflation. I am very conscious myself of trying to hedge for it with my crypto and NFT positions, although it is an extremely risky way of doing so. Uh, I I haven't really thought of it as something that I actively try and plan for just personally, because my core plan is just to try and make a bit of progress each day, personally, financially, career wise, and try not to get lost in the details. So I have a tendency to be at times the type of person that falls into what's called analysis paralysis,
Yeah, yeah.
where if I allow myself to try and dive into the weeds, I get totally lost and I get nothing done and
Mhm.
just stress, and I'll stress myself out for no reason,
Okay.
rather than having a, a, a plan in place of just focusing on progress and
Correct, correct, correct.
having goals in place. And so um, inflation and other elements of life are going to be obstacles that we all encounter numerous times, and we just got to keep on keeping on, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just keep
yeah.
doing our best.
True, 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 true. And also I see your Twitter persona, right? And it actually does inspire me to have that kind of persona where you share your thoughts and people come in, you chat with them, and it just feels very genuine. So I also trying to do that and kind of emulating some things that you've been doing as well. And actually I have my eye on this robot which is up for sale right now, and
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
I'm just accumulating some funds to just go buy that one. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting how this is just taking place and inform. And what about NFT and YC? Are you going to NFT and YC?
No, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be there.
Got it, got it, got it,
But
got it.
I do know, I do have some friends that'll be going, and they're on a scouting mission for me, checking out
Amazing.
the Huxley Alpha.
Yeah, yeah, that's the alpha. Of course, of course. We have something great for you. And I think you also see in the billboard, the Times Square, with all the issues and Huxley written on it. I mean, that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Super
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm very. I think there's going to be some really cool stuff coming out of NFT NYC. Lots of exciting news. I'm sure there are many teams that have been saving some exciting
correct.
teasers and information to share with us at such a big event. So
Yeah,
I've got a feeling it's going to be a good week.
it's amazing. Yeah, yeah. Of course, of course, of course. Yeah, very, very exciting. So I think one last question, right? So what do you think? Like, if you were 20-year-old again, right? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm just saying, right? If you were like 20-year-old again, what would you do differently? I mean, so there's a 20-year-old just got into the space, new to crypto, just wondering how it is. What would be your advice to the young folks?
Well, firstly, it's funny. Every time I get asked that question, my gut reflex is that I actually wouldn't change anything,
Mhm.
because I would be worried if I changed anything that I did, that all of the things that that something that I value, or,
Yeah.
that some little, the butterfly effect. So this is the analysis paralysis thing coming out right now.
Yeah,
It's
correct,
like, what
correct,
little,
correct.
and then I overanalyze, well, what could have changed? So there are things, of course, we all have things that we, behaviors or different things we wish we had done differently when we were younger. I think that what I wish I had done is I wish I had developed a curiosity mindset earlier, and just I know that I said earlier, like the be curious thing,
Yeah, yeah.
it seems simple, but it's actually really, really powerful in so many situations, whether it be that you're meeting, you have a job interview and you're being curious about what value are they bringing to your life, and that can convey confidence more so than you trying to convince them how you're good enough, or having a curiosity mentality in a conflict, a relational conflict with a friend or a partner. If you approach it with curiosity instead of trying to get your point across, the communication you'll have will be just so much more positive, and the results that you would have from that conversation, just in my experience,
Yeah.
are really powerful. And so for any situation that you're encountering in life, I highly encourage leaning on curiosity, and leaning on trying to learn and grow, and having a growth mindset.
Mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, growth mindset. Be curious. Try and be a little bit better each day, in the sense that whatever it is you want to be, wherever it is you want to go, figure out where that is, and have a real plan. Don't just tell yourself, hey, I hope one day I hope one day I can be a blue fur virtual ape. You're never gonna do it if you just keep saying, I hope I can, because no one's gonna do it for you. You just need to say, hey, I want to do this, and then figure out, what do you got to do to make it happen?
Okay.
Because just do it. Just do it. Have fun.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
curious.
Makes sense. Yeah. Have fun, be curious, learn new things. And that's the best part, right? And I think we just have like limited amount of time on the planet, and we just give it our best, right? Wow.
Yeah.
It was intense. It was, yeah, you were saying something, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, curiosity is the only reason that I'm able to do this. I taught
Yeah.
this to
Yeah.
myself.
Wow. Wow.
I learned I spent, I don't even know how much time figuring out what hardware do I need, what software do I need, I spent, when I first got all of this, I spent hours and hours figuring out, okay, where does my tracking go funny, and I lose the tracking, and there's so many things. If you want to do something well, you have to be curious about it, so that you'll just dive in deep and really want to learn it.
Yeah.
And so if just figure out something you're curious about and excited about, and run with it. That's the beauty of the technology. The world we are in today is that technology allows us to create things that we once could only imagine.
100%. 100%. It was, yeah, there's so much, so many pointers. I mean, I definitely am going to come back after I finish, sharing it. I'm definitely going to listen to this again, because there was so many things that, we spoke about, and it was just amazing. Honestly, MetaMori was just amazing. It was amazing to have you on the show. And could you do this, or, something like that?
It's hard to do the thing. I can do the piece
Wow,
stuff.
wow. But that is cool. Peace is also good. Wow, wow.
I'm using
Wow.
for anyone that's curious, on my desk here, I'm using it's called a leap motion controller. There's
Okay.
there's just a little thing about that size. It's just a little thing sitting on my desk. And so for certain movements, it has trouble like for some reason it seems to struggle doing my little fingers and stuff.
Okay.
But that's part of the learning process. Part of being curious is finding out these limitations and then working within them, and then eventually, hopefully
Yeah.
one day I'll have a full body suit and be walking around and stuff like that. I just haven't pulled the trigger on that because
Yeah.
the hardware you need for the full body suits is a lot more intense.
Correct.
Just need a much more powerful machine, a dedicated machine for it, so I can do streaming and stuff. But I very much appreciate you having me on. I probably should have warned you that the hard part is getting me to stop talking. But I thank you so much for the invite. I'm glad we've connected. I'll be seeing you in the Huxley Discord very often, I'm sure, and can't wait to see you snag that bot.
For sure. It's gonna be amazing, and it was just amazing, right? So many things I got to learn again, and this will definitely inspire a lot of folks. And yeah, it was great again. So we'll see you again, MetaMori.
Awesome. Y'all stay bored. Love you.
Peace.